Fellas, what's going on? Welcome to the Expert Circle podcast. We got Brad and Mike here. Look forward to having a conversation with you guys. I was already uh, off camera. We were chatting about you guys' glorious beards here. So, with the elephant out of the room, my beard needs some work. Yeah, we've already exchanged beard care routines, and you guys have sent me the product you guys use. And so,
Hydraulic fluid does great.
yeah, yes, I like it. Brad, tell me about you're the founder of CF Natural Woods. Tell me how you got started in the tree care space, and I know you guys are doing some other work together as well. But yeah, tell me how you got
Well,
started here in the biz.
I got I got started in tree care many moons ago. Um, I built houses when I was in high school, um, and outside of that, from there I enjoyed woodworking, things like that. So through the years, I've met up with some people that have trained me along the way that have been in the industry for a while. I also worked at Vestas Towers here in Pueblo and was part of their layoff. And when the layoff hit, called my wife up and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. What what are we gonna do?" And she said, "You've always wanted to run your own business. Now's your shot." So um, I took that shot and used some of my retirement to get it started and rolled right into it about 6 years ago. Um, and when I rolled into it, I hit the ground running and I pushed it as hard as I could because at that point it was paying bills and making sure that we could survive. And I wanted, I didn't want failure. Failure was not an option with my tree service. Um, I wanted to be successful and be able to help other people. And when I say help other people, sometimes people in our communities don't get recognized like I feel they should. The elderly, teachers, first responders, um, also our military people, and people on fixed incomes. Period. So when I started the tree business, I went in with the attitude of just because you're on a fixed income or you're retired doesn't mean you can't keep up with your yard or your trees. That I wanted to offer a service that those people could still do it and still afford to live. So I gave certain discounts to those people on that are retired or on a fixed income. I gave probably higher discounts to them than I do everybody else, but I also gave discounts teachers. They work really hard. They're a big part of our society, and if we didn't have them, none of us would be where we are today. I give discounts to teachers. I also give military discounts, first responder discounts, things like that to help those that help our community out in
Yep,
general.
and that's huge. I imagine as getting those guys to proactively take care of their tree
Yep.
care needs, and stuff's not falling over, and they're not having to pay even more right out of pocket down the road.
Right.
Very cool. And
And
what made
then
those tree care after, doing the construction thing? What was it about that industry that, you know
I just enjoyed working with my hands, doing woodwork, um, with the tree service. Um, I've taken logs to mills, had them milled out, built a crib for my niece, which that's something that I enjoy to do. I also built a dresser that went with it. I've built many tables for my son that my wife and I had this year. I built his dresser, and I mean, the joy I get out of building furniture is just, it's kind of like, it's like my chi, you get to kind of disappear into the project and figure it out. And it worked out really good. And it's provided some furniture for my families. and family that I have extended wise, and it's been really neat to be able to pass that on to people.
So that's kind of you have a creative outlet there to get
Yeah,
creative juices flowing. That's really cool. Do people ever have you ever had the chance to build, some kind of piece for someone out of their tree that was cut down?
I did. My uncle, that lives out here, he bought a old farmhouse. Him and my aunt bought an old farmhouse, and there was like I don't remember if it was a hay wagon or what kind of wagon it was, but it was an older wagon and it was chained to the tree. And when I cut that tree down, I saved the chain and wrapped it around the tree exactly how it was and used the wood that was attached to it to support the legs.
Very cool. So you heard it here. If you need some furniture made, so what does that look like? Do you have to dry out the wood first before you're able to work with it?
Yeah, I mean, for that table, it was pretty basic. It was just cutting around section, table size, like an end table size, and then let it sit and dry. So that way it didn't warp or do anything funky. Same thing with the legs. The legs were actually logs it was part of the Y from the tree where it wied out. And then I added a third one off of it, off the same tree.
Yep, got it.
So letting that stuff sit and dry long enough so that way when I clear coated it, I didn't coat moisture into the material.
Yep, yep, very cool. And, how did, Mike, how did you connect with Brad? I'm really tall, actually, I'm 6'9", so sometimes I'll be out and about, at a bar or something, and I'll, like, see another guy who's, like, 6'8", and I'll be like, "Yo, bro, you get it." So did you guys just see each other's beautiful beards one day and decide to become best friends, or what happened there?
No, so, like, he went into the whole giving back to the community thing, so we both also do, um, volunteer work as far as, like, we both grew up in ranching families, so we also volunteer for our state fair, and, we work for the rodeo committee on the state fair, and that's where we first met. So, when we met there and then, I was working at the chemical depot here in Pueblo, I ended up getting furloughed just like him. And I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? And my wife was kind of like, well, just hang out for a few months. And Brad called me one day, and we'd already been friends for about a year and a half or so at that time. And he was like, hey, I need some help on a tree job. I was like, okay, I'll come make some extra money. So then that's how everything kind of started as us being business partners is he just needed some help and didn't have it. And we kind of just went from there and it just kind of got big and we did tree work pretty much all summer and then started with the hydraulic stuff, so
Yeah. Yeah, love to get into the hydraulic stuff that you guys are doing, servicing some of those clients, and so you guys both grew up living ranch life, so that was
Yeah.
cattle, steer?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, through high school, I did a lot of haying, throwing hay for several different people. Um, After high school, I basically was a traveling cowboy off and on. On my days off, I'd travel everywhere from Pueblo all the way down to Trinidad, working for the same guy. He had three leases, one here in Pueblo, one in Colorado City, and one in Trinidad. So working cattle all the time, just one of those things. It was just another day.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and growing up on a ranch, I'm sure you guys are having to, learn how to fix everything, do everything, be self-sufficient, so could probably throw you guys just about at about any problem there is, any man problem,
pretty much.
Yeah.
like when girls say they want a guy that can fix things, right here, girls,
Oh, yeah.
Brad and
Yeah.
Mike, your guys. Uh, cool. Um, so, and Mike, you help out with the on the tree care side of things.
I do.
Yeah, yeah. So you're doing that,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
pretty
guys,
simple stuff, so
yeah. What's you guys' like main clients? You said a lot of people that have served in the community, and you guys are providing for them? These are residential clients, I imagine, or any commercial clients, or
I've had a few commercial clients over the years. Done some pretty big projects here in Pueblo for some of our areas where we have like shopping centers that have older trees that were tearing up the parking lot, causing trip hazards, things like that. So I've gone in and done some of those projects. And some of those projects, they just get to the point where they're trying. You gotta be focused, trying, watching all the time because in the tree industry, it's it's been ranked number one most dangerous job forever. Um, and people don't understand that. And the there's people that just don't think before they do. Um, doesn't matter how well you secure your areas off, people still do crazy off the wall things like drive right through your site while you're cutting a tree down.
wow.
I've had some instances where I've been halfway through a tree and somebody's drove over my cones, through the job site, underneath my winch cable. Like it's a whole thing. And I'm like, really? Did you have to do that? You see, I've got cones, trucks, and trailers blocking everywhere, and you drove right in between everything just to be in the way.
Yep, yep.
No, I mean, that those stresses on those big jobs like that when they're in town are very hard. Um, I've done huge jobs for like fire mitigation though in Westcliff, doing 75 acres with the NRCS, working with those guys who help do fire mitigation and helping promote grasslands for our wildlife, things like that. And I've done several projects up north for a lady where I've spent a week up there cutting trees, clearing it up where a wildfire did go through before the owner that has it now owned it. And she's trying to prevent her place from catching on fire if another one does roll through.
Got it.
So,
You guys are doing brush clearance, kind of clearing some defensive
yeah,
space.
doing clearance of brush, clearing around homes, making sure that there's enough clearance so the house is protectable, but also making those fire breaks so when like the planes come over with the fire retardant can get to the ground. The job that I did up north was a good example. I wish I would have taken pictures of it. The top end of all the pine trees through her whole property were green, 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 and all the bottoms from the bottom all the way up to almost the top was burnt. And that's because there was so much tree coverage that the retardant couldn't get to the ground to stop the fire. It just protected the top end of the tree. So the rest of it was all fuel.
Yep, that makes
And
sense.
a lot of people don't understand the importance of that.
Hmm, hmm. Yep,
And those that do understand the importance of it that I've worked for, I've done some clearing in Beulah for a couple customers that were just phenomenal customers. They're like, hey, what are you going to do? How are we going to go about it to make our place protectable? So on and so forth. We moved up here to live in a forest. Well, as a business owner, I've got to understand that's why they moved there. They want to be in the woods. But at the same token, they want their home safe. So I want to give them as much of the woods feel, but also the safety of their home too.
yep, yep. Very interesting. Are you guys dealing with the bark beetle situation up there?
We deal with pine beetles quite a bit, but it's not as much as it used to be. In the areas we're in, I know out west and some of those other places, they're still getting hit pretty hard. Here in Pueblo, we deal with what's called a elm beetle, and those things are nasty. They get into everything. They get into your home. They're a whole mess as far as just a nuisance. They do their number on trees around here also.
Yep, yep. Gotcha, gotcha. Um, very interesting. So, um, so like a lot of places, so you guys are a little bit south of Colorado Springs, Pueblo. How far is that south of Colorado?
It's about 45 minutes to an hour south of Springs,
Yep. So
Depending on where you're at.
you guys get some real winners there, right? How much snow do you
Yeah.
guys get?
Not really. This year's been super, super dry, super warm. Um, we haven't got the snow. By this time last year, we had more snow than we've had this year, for
Yep.
sure, 100%.
Yep. Yep. Uh,
So it's a little scary, especially when it comes down to the ranch side, farm side, things like that, because having livestock, you know how that goes. So
yep. Yep. So is that part of, I know, a lot of tree trimmers that are, in four season locations, get into, we have a client that's a tree trimmer and he does Christmas lights in the winter and, snow. A lot of these guys are doing snow removal.
right.
Or what made you guys, is that the reason why you guys are getting into, to utilize some of you guys' skills and being able to do a little bit of everything? You saw a need for this industrial servicing for some of this industrial equipment, and that was a way for you guys to have a kind of a complementary business that keeps you busy in the winter, or what was the origins of that?
Well, for for me, the hydraulic company that I've started with Mike High Speed Hydraulics, it's more than just a winter thing. Here in Pueblo, we have two guys that build hoses, two shops in town,
Yep.
and they're great shops. I have nothing bad to say about those guys, but we have nobody that's mobile.
Got it.
So, from being in the tree industry, I've had instances where I've broke down at 4:30 and those places are closed, or 5 o'clock and they're closed,
Yeah.
and I have no way to get any service until the following morning.
Yep. Yep. That makes
So
sense.
so then I could have a truck broke down at a client's house that needs to get out of there, and now I can't get it out until the next morning. Then it puts my schedule behind, and it's a whole train effect because now my schedule's behind. Now I got to figure out how to either A, catch it up, or reschedule everybody to get it back in order. And rescheduling people, that is not always the easiest thing to do. Because everybody's human. We all have things that we need to do and have planned, or things with family, or what, so on and so forth. So,
Sure. Sure.
I felt there was a need for a mobile hydraulic company here in Pueblo, and somebody that could be of service on a weekend, because a lot of our tree guys during the busy season, they're working Monday through Saturday.
Sure.
So
Sure.
most of our hydraulic stores are closed on Saturday. What do you do when you blow a hose on Saturday? Now you got to wait till Monday.
Yep. And so you guys were already working together, Mike, and you had some, experience in kind of, servicing some of this equipment as well. And there's just kind of a synergy there. You guys both had the skill set. You guys both saw the need, or how'd that come about?
Well, like I said, like I was working full time at the depot. I was working rotating days and nights, so I would help him out on trees when I could.
Yep.
And then when I got let go, it was more like he kind of had already thrown around the idea of having the hydraulic business start up and stuff like that. So we were definitely talking about it, and then doing the trees and stuff, and then seeing the need for it. But I also come from a very like maintenance heavy background from what I did at the chemical depot. So it kind of all just fell in place. Like I was used to working on you know 8 to 10,000 psi stuff hydraulic wise there, and so it's kind of like one of those things where it's like he had the he had the motivation to want to start a business, and I had a little bit of the background in it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
not saying that he doesn't know what he's doing by any means. Like we both come from a maintenance background, but
Yep.
I kind
Yep.
of I kind of just fell right into it. It wasn't something that I had to learn.
And mother is a necessity of all invention, so
Yeah,
the timing was right. You were looking for something instead of diving back into another job,
yeah,
taking the reins and diving in to start your own thing. I know that's how a lot of people get started as business owners, which is really cool. Um, So dumb question, just to give me a little context and maybe for anybody watching, what would the range of hydraulic industrial equipment be that you guys would be servicing? What are some examples of those types of, pieces of equipment?
I mean, if you think about it, like anything from like a skid steer all the
Yep.
way up to like a big like Caterpillar D9, like all of that stuff has hydraulic components on it.
All the things that get the,
Anything
trucks
that
to,
tilts, anything that moves, like a bucket,
yep.
those all have a hydraulic cylinder, a power unit, a reservoir, and hoses. They're all gonna have the same thing. So, I
Okay.
mean, when you say range, I mean, pretty much any piece of equipment that has hydraulic equipment on it is something that we're capable of working.
Yep. Yep. Very cool. I am not capable of working on hydraulic equipment and servicing that. My my grandfather, he did invent the trash truck that was like the compactor one,
Nice.
him and his brother. So
Bunch of hydraulics on that too.
I know, yeah, so it's in my DNA somewhere. I just have to it's a recessant gene though that needs to be
Just
activated.
gotta channel it. You just gotta it's the beard, you gotta channel it.
I know, I gotta work on it, yeah. Um Very cool. So, what stage are you guys at in that? Is there a bunch of like equipment you guys need to buy to be able to service, this stuff? You guys have a truck locked and loaded, ready to go with what type of
We're we're working on the supplies we need. We've met with a couple different vendors that we're going to go have for places to service. So we're kind of getting some ideas on the fittings and hoses and different things that we need to keep on hand for those guys for sure. Because those are going to be our big hitters where they're like, hey, we need this. Can you get it to us now? So we want to make sure we have those supplies on hand. And we're also learning as we go through some of our projects what some of the other industries may need, such as trash trucks, things like that, and different fittings that they have also. So there's a lot that goes into hydraulics. We do have a truck. It's not 100% set up, but we do have a truck that we are using currently that we're working on so that way we can get set up with the crane on it and things like that to be able to lift some of these big cylinders and remove them and do our thing with it.
so you guys are replacing cylinders, refitting it with the fluids it needs, right?
Right.
And are those very viscous, those fluids? Are they thicker? I'm curious.
It's thicker than water. So water is usually like 8 pounds per gallon. All fluid is gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 to 12. So it's super viscous. It's just like an oil is all
Yep.
it is.
Yep. Um, Interesting. I mean, Brad, from your perspective and, running the tree care business, it's tree care's, there's a lot that goes into that, right?
Yes.
Doing tree care and, or even construction, right? If you're doing home builds, it's a lot to go in it. As a business owner, I think it's smart to, dial into a niche, and the, hydraulic servicing, it seems like an interesting niche where you get really good at that, and then it's maybe a little bit easier to scale up a team to service maybe a wider area. Uh,
Correct.
and so, is that something that you're kind of looking forward to, or something that you've been conscious of? Thinking about, getting into a niche, being just like an expert, really good at doing that one thing, and
100%. I mean, with trees, I was good at it. I I enjoyed it,
yep,
but when the market's flooded and gets as competitive as it was, it sometimes it seems like any Joe Schmo thinks he can cut a tree.
sure,
And there's a lot of cutthroat in it to where it makes it hard to make a living when you have a family
yep,
sometimes.
yep.
And then you have to get into more expensive equipment if you want to stand out from your competitors, so on and so forth. And that could turn into a super expensive deal that could either make or break you. I've seen guys be successful with it, but I've also seen guys scale up and disappear that same moment. So
I mean, you think about this, the town of Pueblo, right? There's probably like less than 1,000,000, 1.2 million people. It's
Yep.
definitely less than that. I guarantee it.
Sure.
But I can think of 10 tree companies offhand
Wow.
in the city of Pueblo.
Wow.
and as far as hydraulics go, when you think about it, we're located out here in the Mesa. So being that we're in the county, we're out here with all the farmers. But you also have your construction workers. You also have, I mean, there's just several industries around us because Pueblo is based off of a lot of our big hitters. One of our big hitters is the mill, the Pueblo Mill. We have CS Winds, which used to be Vestas Towers. That's a big plant that deals with hydraulics. There's a lot of places, and they go through certain vendors, and those vendors are looking for local people to go to work on their equipment. So if we can be one of those vendors to help, because there's only one guy here in town that rebuilds cylinders that has been doing it for forever. His dad started the business and now he runs it, and he does a good job at what he does. He has some capabilities that we don't because I mean, his dad started the business and they've got a lot of machining equipment that came over a lot of years. And eventually, hopefully, we will get to that point where we do have that machining equipment and we can pass this on to our kids and let them run with it. So having that other option to be able to show up on site for a customer is something that's not offered here in Pueblo. So being that that's not an option for people, having that option now could open up a lot of windows for us and a lot of opportunities, especially with our farmers who don't always work your average 9 to 5, you know?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. We talk about this on all of our podcasts with our these local service pros. AI is this big thing. It's actually displacing a lot of people jobs. People in kind of white collar jobs, right? So you
Right.
got guys that are computer programmers or something, and they're like, shoot, I'm gonna become a plumber, because we don't need computer programmers anymore, or one programmer can do the job of 100 programmers. So uh, we're in this interesting shift, and it's I think in a lot of industries there's not enough you know people that are in the skilled trades. Um, but what you guys are saying, sometimes there's already too much competition, in some areas, so it's picking those right niches, and the more skilled things and the more skill it takes, and the more niche it is, I think the more need there is for things like that. And it wasn't cool. I think America got soft. It wasn't cool to do the tough jobs. And then it's kind of ironic, right? It was like, oh, go to 4 years, get $200,000 in college debt and get an office job, and that was the cool thing to do. And then it's all coming full circle where, like, that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
And it is cool to work with your hands, and people have mental health problems because they're not, working with their hands and getting out and doing real things, right? They're just on
Right.
technology all day. So, uh, yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not sure if you guys are, conscious of any of that, but it's something
Oh,
that's
yeah.
definitely happening.
We both would rather work with our hands. I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah. It's better for the body, better for the brain, for sure. It's
Oh, yeah.
meditative, getting in and problem solving. Yeah, you guys get to do a lot of problem solving.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Because not every situation we run into is the same. It's always something new, something different. Some of them are the same, but most of the time, you look at it, it's kind of like trees. Everybody looks at trees and they're like, yeah, it's just cutting a tree down. Anybody could cut a tree down. Not really. You've got to be able to pick it apart, so on and so forth, and figure out how you're going to cut it, where this is going to go, where that's going to go. Hydraulics is kind of the same thing because not every situation's the same. You blow a hydraulic line and your boom's stuck.
Yep.
What do you do?
Yep.
How do you fix that? If we have a boom in the air, how do you get around that obstacle to get it in a safe position to be able to fix that problem.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and just troubleshooting things when we have issues. We've come across, we did a rebuild just recently on a crane on a dump bed truck for a tree service here in town. And we had the problem fixed. Everything was good. It was operating fine. They called us up the other day and said, "Hey, this is acting funny. We don't understand what's going on. We used to be able to do this before. Okay, let us come and look at it." And we had to troubleshoot it and see what was what and go from there. Um, Turns out that one of our valves that we ended up getting turned out faulty. So we're going to get a new valve shipped out here and get that replaced. But being able to troubleshoot those problems, figure out what the issue is, where it's coming from, and how to go from there. A lot of guys hydraulic. A lot of guys hear hydraulics, and it's kind of like electrical work. You know, it's kind of foreign. But when you've been around it as much as, say, Mike and I have, working out at the wind tower factory, we dealt with hydraulics out there around equipment that had hydraulics on it. Running the tree service for me,
Yep.
um, I bought an older bucket truck in 1981. I ended up rebuilding all the cylinders on it, learning where all the lines went, how to rebuild it, how to replace things, so on and so forth. So
Yep. Yep.
having the knowledge of troubleshooting and being able to fix a problem when it arises compared to, well, I don't want to mess with that because I'm not sure, you know.
Sure.
And a lot of guys are, they'll tell you, hey, it's hydraulics. I don't know about it. I don't want to know about it. And I understand that and I can respect that because hydraulics can be a dangerous thing also.
Totally. But how does it work, Mike? Are there farms and big operations out in you guys' area where they have a number of trucks so you guys can get clients that you can kind of build a relationship with them, or do
Yeah.
most
So,
uh,
I mean, little background, like my family's been in Pueblo for since the 1950s. And so I know a lot of the local farmers, a lot of the local ranchers, and he does as well. So our end goal is to have those big contracts with, say, those big companies, those big industrial companies, but we also want to be able to service all of those local farmers. That way, they can be like, well, these guys are right down the road and we don't have to go all the way into town. And maybe we save that farmer or that rancher 2 or 3 hours of work. You know what I mean? So that way, it's just kind of one of those things where we're just trying to make it a little easier for everybody, being a little bit closer to where they're gonna need the services. And like Brad said, like with us trying to be mobile, come harvest time around here, I'm I can't tell you how many times you can drive right at dusk or right during the dark and all the fields are lit up with tractor lights because they're out there working. And you know, breaks don't just happen during the middle of the day. So if something's gonna break down, it's gonna happen. If it was my luck, it's gonna be in the middle of the night.
sure,
That's what we're trying to offer people is to be able to just, service those local guys because, they're doing a lot for us. Because what do we have here? Like 4 or 5 different farmers markets that we all contribute to and help them out. And, we're kind of hoping that maybe we'll get some more business from those kind of guys. Kind of goes full circle. You know what I mean?
yep, yep. Well, pretty cool to connect with you guys. You know, and would be interesting to talk about if there's any value that we can bring you guys in terms of you know, you guys, what we hear from, all these local service guys, they love doing the work, but they don't like, you know, running the back end, doing taxes, invoicing, all that kind of stuff, right? Generating leads. So, it could be interesting to see if, there's some, you know, options to kind of automate some of the tree service stuff, right? To free up your time to focus on that and, maybe generate more leads from you, especially with some of these AI tools that we're using. Like you're either a business that's utilizing some of these AI tools to really get a lot of organic leads and have everything be really dialed, or the business down the road's doing it, right? And
Right.
and so it's kind of the adoption of AI. Like you don't have to become an expert at AI, but you got to be using it or working with someone who is using that to compete, in the world and the landscape today. Because otherwise, you got to pay a bunch for pay per clicks. So
Right.
yeah, and we can talk more about that in the future. But I think it's interesting for all business owners to consider that building a system that's not just them, so creating something that could be passed down to kids or sold, where you can't sell you, right, but you can sell systems. So if there's a engine that's bringing in, like what we do, help guys show up and search, so if someone's searching for your service and XYZ, area, making sure it shows up in the search when people find you, making sure that your website looks legit and professional and is converted for optimization to get the you know more information, text, quote form, um, and then when people call you guys, making sure that those get booked into jobs. If you guys are busy servicing another client, they're getting the auto text back saying, "Hey, sorry, with another client right now, working on a job, can't talk, but what can I do for you?" And then you guys can pick up that conversation, on your mobiles and make sure that nothing's slipping through the cracks. So that's kind of an example of some systems, putting in place that kind of A to Z that we see, from the origination of those clients to booking that job, and then when invoices go out, kind of the automated reminders to make sure people are paying for those invoices. uh, when the invoice gets paid, automatic request goes out to leave a review, so making sure you guys are stacking up more 5-star reviews uh, in the competition. So that's kind of A to Z. um, I think something that could be relevant for you guys as you guys are kind of juggling multiple things, making sure that you have, you know, something set up to free up your time to do both really well. And I think this new business could be something that's scalable, right? Where you guys are getting into these areas need that are a little bit farther away from town, and it's going to be a hassle for these guys to get out there, and you're maybe able to even train up some people, grow the business, and service some of those underserved areas, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So
Same go.
yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. Uh, who's your target? Who's your like ideal target audience? It's these farm owners that have how many pieces of equipment is the
It doesn't matter. You could be the one person that owns one tractor. Or you can own 50 of them.
yep
We're not. We're doing it because we like to do it, and obviously we're all in a business to make money, right?
yep
But we're not gonna tell the one old lady or the one old man that has one tractor, "Oh, we can't help you because we have 50 others we got to do." We're gonna
sure
service whoever we can.
yep. I appreciate that. You guys have a cool heart, of service. It's like my guy Jesus, like, you got to be, have a servant heart is the highest calling, and it's good for our soul, right, to help other people. And
Yep.
uh, when we give and we align our gifting, with our purpose, is that I think it's where joy happens. So it's cool to see
Yep.
you guys utilizing your gifting. Um, and the world's better for it. I sure don't have the ability to get out there and fix industrial equipment, so I'm glad, uh, good guys like that are doing that. Anything, that you wanna share, with your, existing, client base or prospective client base, and maybe it's something that people don't know about, that you're educating people on the regular that would be interesting to let them know about?
Nah, I mean, we appreciate the clients that we have, and we wanna grow more and have more clients, obviously. Um, but you know, everything that we've been doing, like, I hope that the quality of work, and we try to stand behind it. So if there's anything that any of our existing clients have or anything from new clients, like, just know that if there's something wrong, we like that with the story you told, we will come out and figure out what's wrong still. If you get a piece of equipment back from us that you think that something's still not right, then just let us know and we'll come look at it. You know, that's we want to have clients that know that we care about their equipment just as much as they do,
Yep.
and
Yep.
want it to run properly and safely.
Yep. Yep. So if you're looking for guys, I mean, with you guys' servant mindsets, being able to go above and beyond, help people out after hours, I'm sure you guys develop really deep relationships, and that's probably important to you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, one of our customers for the hydraulic business here recently was one of my really good tree customers and still is one of my good tree customers. And customers like that, I really appreciate that because they're not just supporting a small business, they're supporting a family that is run by a guy running a small business. So it it kind of feeds hand in hand. So not only are they supporting my business, but they're supporting me, they're supporting Mike, they're supporting our kids, our wives. They're helping us make it through every day of the year. No matter what they do, whether they leave a review, they come back several times. Um, they talk us up to other people, refer us to other people. I mean, all of those things are big for a small business, whether you're starting out or existing. Um, all that stuff is a big deal to be successful and keep clientele coming in and keep people coming back.
Yep. So that's, probably, one of you guys is wise is, you guys are doing this for your family. You got to have a powerful why, right? To
Oh yeah.
do what you do. Uh, and yes, it's interesting and I think important to really remember. It's one family, partnering with another family ultimately, and that's what it's all about. I love it. Um, very cool, very cool. Well, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you sharing your story. It's really cool to hear about something. It's like when you watch some of these reality shows of something, that's a completely field that you wouldn't normally have a glimpse into that world. For you,
Right.
interesting to step into that world and hear you guys' story and the perspectives from what you guys are doing and living your life out there. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Enjoyed hearing that, and yeah, we'll be throwing this out to your community. And what is the name of you guys' hydraulic biz? If you want to give a shout out for that,
High speed hydraulics.
High Speed Hydraulics. Okay,
Yes.
so if you guys need help with your, hydraulic servicing needs, and you broke down, these are your guys. Yeah. And that would be very valuable for me. I would have you guys on my speed dial program I'm in right now. Cause when it happens and goes down, you don't want to be, caught out somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi and you don't have time to look them up. So, yeah,
Yep.
Right.
Heck yeah.
very cool. Okay, guys, Brad, Mike, really, really cool meeting you guys. Hopefully this is not the last time we guys were able to, chat and thanks for coming on the Expert Circle podcast here. And yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Right
Thanks for
on.
having
Thank
us.
you.
Okay. See you guys.
See ya.
Send the beard care kit. I'm waiting for it.
See ya.
Cool.